that's the four categories of the life admin that's coming at you. It's the household, your personal affairs, your comparison shopping, and your social life. And so once people get their head around that, it helps them actually prioritize where they want to put attention and what to focus on. Some people will be like, ugh, cost of living is high. I'm stressed out around money. I need to understand what's happening with my plans. I want to get the bills under control. So that's where I'm going to focus my time. That's where I'm going to get started with getting my life admin organized, is the comparison shopping.
Welcome to the ADHD Families Podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Collin, an award-winning credentialed ADHD coach and consultant and mama and wife to a very ADHD family. I am seriously obsessed with making life easier for people with ADHD and those that support them. My business, The Functional Family, provides life-changing support and strategies for ADHD. I particularly love anything that saves time, decreases conflict, and creates space for fun. Do you want a life with your beautiful family that is more functional, fun, and full of joy? Let's explore together the wonderful and sometimes wacky world of family life with ADHD in the mix. Welcome to another episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. I'm your host, Sharon Collin, and I am so happy you are here. Today, we have one of my all-time favorite episodes for you. It's with the incredible Mia Northrop. Now, she literally wrote the book about life admin, life hacks, and I thought I would get her on the podcast today because I know that one of the themes that comes up so much in our beautiful ADHD community is struggling under the weight of life admin. Oh my goodness, this invisible load that we carry. And it seems to be getting like there's more and more coming at us all the time, and lots of expectations and lots of overwhelm surrounding this topic. So Mia has an incredible way of breaking it down into really simple steps. She's actually come inside the ADHD Families membership and really gave us her framework for making life admin easier for us. And so in this episode, you're going to hear about, why people with ADHD can struggle with life admin, some really clear practical tools to automate it and categorize it and support us with the invisible load that we carry. Let's get to it. Welcome, Mia. I am so happy that you are here chatting with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
Oh, I've got so many questions for you, and I know quite a few of our listeners are big fans of your work. So let's get started by if you can tell me a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, so I am the co-author of Life Admin Hacks and the co-host of the Life Admin Life Hacks podcast. And this juggernaut came about, it was a bit of a necessity is the mother of invention story. So my pal Dinah and I, we are high school friends. We had a girls' weekend away Friday night. We're drinking wine, we're eating the cheese, we're talking about life. And then we just started venting about life admin. We started talking about all the paperwork that was coming our way, all the forms we felt like we were having to fill in for the kids, all the comparison shopping we had to do for like electricity providers and internet providers. We felt like insurance was always expiring. We were supposed to find a new insurance policy. Like, how did this get so out of control? Why are we drowning in this? And at the time, we were both working full time. We had little kids. And we kind of acknowledged that this was a huge source of stress for us. We felt quite overwhelmed. We were pretty much the only people in our homes doing all this work. It felt quite invisible. And so this is where the quest began. We thought that maybe there's a book we haven't read that we need to read. Maybe there's a podcast we should be listening to. And there really wasn't. We went hunting. And then we decided, let's do it ourselves. So I have a background in research and user experience design, looking at websites and apps and making them user-friendly for people. And Dinah's background is in operations. So again, it's around optimizing tasks and processes and efficiency. And we thought, let's just combine our professional expertise here and solve this problem for ourselves in our personal lives. And also for everybody else, especially working parents that we know have the biggest burden of life admin. Let's solve this so we can get some headspace back, some time back. We knew we were wasting money on a whole bunch of stuff. So we're like, there's got to be a better way of looking after our money when it comes to life admin. And also reduce some of the household friction, because there were moments where things were getting tense about the workload, who was doing what, and making sure this stuff was happening happening regularly and not just sort of dumped on someone.
I think that a lot of what you just said there will really resonate with our audience in terms of that invisible load that we all carry around. And it occupies so much brain space and it contributes to decision fatigue. And yeah, it can be a lot. And from what the beautiful adults that I work with ADHD, they tend to be exceptionally good at their jobs because it's something they're interested in usually. But it's that life admin stuff that really weighs them down. So I'm so interested to hear some tips that you have in relation to that. So can you tell me a little bit about the clients that you have that have ADHD and what they would come to you for, how they would present to your beautiful business?
Yeah. Well, often there'll be, so this is people who will email and talk about whether they want to join our membership program, or they might have read the book and are looking for next steps. Often the challenges are around getting started on tasks. It's hard to just get going. They might have a to-do list. They might be aware of the tasks that they feel like they should be doing, but they just can't get started and get traction. So that's one thing that we talk about. We talk about breaking things down into little steps. And actually, this is common of a lot of people with life admin, because it is tedious. It's not the most exciting stuff. So when you're anticipating boredom, when you're anticipating tedium, it's fair enough that it's hard to get started. So we talk about increasing their passion for it. And that sounds weird when you're talking about life admin, but it's about focusing on the outcome. It's about how much money could you potentially save if you do this task, or how much fun are you potentially going to have if you plan this birthday party or whatever it might be. So we talk about that. But we also talk about their ability to do the task, because with a lot of life admin, we might have big guns in our professional lives, as you said, but when it comes to your personal life, and for example, choosing investment options for your superannuation, or comparing electricity providers and understanding the criteria you're used to, that you should use to compare them. We don't know. When Dana and I started on this, we had no idea what we should be looking for. And so when you can tackle that, then often it does get easier to start, because it doesn't feel so daunting and scary. So we really break it down, understand, right, is this a motivation issue? Is this a ability issue? What do we need to tweak to help you get started? The other thing that we talk about is the actual follow through. So they might get started, but actually finishing the task can be challenging. So in those respects, we're sort of talking about breaking it down into little steps and having that written or having that visually somewhere, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel, and they can follow a sequence that feels doable, that feels appropriately sized, and isn't too many steps so you get lost along the way. We also talk about systems, and a lot of the things we recommend are often digital tools. So we know that people carry their phones around with them everywhere all the time. So we're often recommending that people use a to-do list on their phone or a digital calendar. But depending on how your brain is wired, that will not work for you. You need visual flags, you need visual signals around you. So we talk about things that are going to work for them in their household, where they do their life admin, on their desk or their computer or the wall or somewhere else convenient in their house. Where can they use Post-it notes or actual wall calendars or other visual things that are going to help them, because they need those triggers, they need information from various sources. So there's some of the things. The other things that comes up is often sort of multiple reminder systems. So while we might suggest that people use a digital calendar, it might not be enough that it's sitting in the calendar. They might need different kinds of notifications to remember that the thing is going to happen. So we might talk about how you can set up different notifications within the app, so you're getting pinged the day before, the hour before, 15 minutes before, or you're getting an email, or you're getting Siri or whatever assistant you have on your phone to talk to you and actually, say out loud, this thing is happening in 15 minutes. And we talk about how they can set that up across all their tech. And it's incredible when you go into your phone and look at some of the apps. We go into Google Calendar or whatever you're using. There's such robust functionality in there that you can take advantage of to support you where you need. So yeah, they're the sort of the typical things.
Oh, I love that so much. Now, do you ever recommend that people outsource certain tasks?
Oh, do we ever?
Okay, tell me. I want to know. This is purely selfish. What can I outsource?
Well, we have a whole chapter on outsourcing in our book. And when we've talked about it on the podcast, this is actually, it's something that some people feel is a little bit controversial because a lot of judgment comes into it. It comes to people's values and what they value money for. You have to decide what is money for, and sometimes it doesn't match what other people think money is for. You want to outsource things that are really difficult and time-consuming and stress you out. They're the first things to go. If anything that's causing friction in the household, you might decide, you know what? Well, there's that saying, a cleaner is cheaper than marriage counselling.
It's true. It's so true.
So if you have things that are just, you feel like you'd rather pay money for this, some people want to spend money on shoes or fancy holidays or luxury cars. Some people would rather just have someone to do their gardening once a month, someone to come and clean their house every other week, especially if it's a season of life that's particularly busy. Sometimes outsourcing can be the answer, just to, solve one part of a puzzle if there is a lot of things going on in your life. So outsourcing things like having your photos organized. Digital photo organization is one of those things that everyone's like, oh, I've got 10,000 photos and it's chaos. And you can outsource that. You can outsource someone making a birthday cake for your kid because they have requested some fantasy unicorn thing that you are never going to be able to pull off. And there's someone who's going to nail it. Using websites like Fiverr or Airtasker, you would be shocked at the things you could outsource and that you could ask someone else to do. For me, it's often food related. So if there's also that kind of continuum of outsourcing. I get like those HelloFresh meal kits coming along. That is outsourcing to a degree. You're getting someone else to sort of, do the shopping. You're getting someone else to prep the material and deliver it to your house. So all you have to do is go to the website, pick the meals, and everything else is done for you. And of course, there's continuums of that where you might get someone to do, you might get the actual meal service where someone is making the meals for you. But outsourcing is incredibly important for people who are going through times of life or have a life where there's just a lot going on and they decide, you know what, it's important for me to have some downtime. I'm going to spend my money on this. This is aligned with my values and this is what I'm happy to spend on. What do you want to outsource, Sharon?
Oh, I want to outsource everything, everything. I'm a big fan of outsourcing, especially because for a lot of clients that I talk to, women are doing they're working and they're managing. There's a lot of great husbands out there too, but in general, if we look at the load that women are carrying, it is just ginormous. Like the heavy lifting of the kids, the work and the home, managing the household and the invisible load. And when I read that book, Fair Play, I was like, oh my goodness. And Annabelle Crabb's The Wife Drought, I was just so caught up in the injustice of it all. And so I think,
it is very gendered. It is very gendered. And we're used to outsourcing very types of housework. So cooking, cleaning, laundry, that feels pretty traditional. But also a lot of activities that often traditionally fell to men, like gardening, cleaning a pool, those kinds of things get outsourced without the blink of an eye. So there's it is very gendered and it is very it still feels contentious. But, you can outsource a whole bunch of life admin as well, whether it is to do with comparison shopping. You can pay people to shop around your bills for you. There are services like Bill Hero where you pay, $50, $70 a year and they will shop around your electricity and gas bills for you and tell you when they've found a better deal and when it's time to switch. So we definitely encourage people to use things like that.
Oh, tip number one, guys, Bill Hero. Okay, what about with the photo thing? Because that just sparked something in me. I started sweating when you even talked about photos because I don't, it's wild in there. And you mentioned like Fiverr or Upwork or something like that. Is there specific companies that do that or are you putting that job on there?
Yeah, I'm sure there are people on those, TaskRabbit kinds of websites that will do that, but there are dedicated providers who have training. There is like Photo Organization Association trained people who are professional in it. So I would start with them. And there are also courses online. There are little short courses online that will show you how to do it. We actually do it in our membership where we show people the software to use, because there's like 3 pieces of software that will go through and get rid of all your duplicates. They'll get rid of all the fuzzy ones. They'll get all the, when you press the button that takes 10 photos of the same thing, they will identify all of those and clean it all out. Then there's other software that will go through and organize it all chronologically and put it in little folders for the dates. And once you know what that software is, it takes about 5 minutes to do it. But it's understanding what the software is out there. If you can't be bothered doing that, then yes, look for one of the, I would just Google digital photo organizer and choose someone who is part of one of those the professional association. It's a sign of the times, right? That's even a thing, that there is a professional association of photo organizers.
I am so here for that. So tell me, when you have someone with ADHD or there's ADHD in the household, that brings along its own sets of challenges. And when it comes to life admin, we know that that's something that a lot of beautiful families struggle with. And we've got 2 camps that we go into hypervigilance, and being really, really on top of everything and checking it all the time. And then, the letting things lax and going up with those cycle tasks. Do you have any tips that can, like say if we're talking about bills and things like that, what are your tips for our beautiful families to make those things easier?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we kind of lift up out of the detail to sort of get our heads around the categories of life admin, because that's often what makes it feel overwhelming, is that it just sort of feels like chaos. It feels very ad hoc. And we find that if we can sort of put them in little boxes for people, they can understand, that fits in that box. And then it can start to feel easier about how you might approach that box. The first way we categorize life admin is thinking about it in 2 types. There's everyday life admin, which is things like your bills. It's things like meal planning, deciding what's for dinner every night. It is things like comparison shopping your electricity or planning a birthday party. So it's all of the stuff that just happens week in, week out, month in, month out. And then you have life events. You have these admin triggering life events, like when you change job or you move house, or you buy a house, or you get married, or you have a baby. Some of them are really positive. Some of them are, you wish weren't happening to you, but they all come along with their own paperwork. So that's the first thing we get people to sort of stop and think about, is it like, am I just need to focus on my everyday life admin and get that humming? Or am I actually going through a life event where the amount of life admin is sort of a magnitude higher, and recognizing that might be like just a short-term thing that you're going through. So that helps people to come to terms with what kind of life admin is going on. And then we get people to think about 4 categories of life admin, because it isn't just random, it's actually very predictable once you start looking at what's coming at you. One group is around what's happening in your household. So again, this is the bills, this is the kids' logistics, this is the groceries, this is outsourcing the cleaning. So there's household stuff. The second category is your personal affairs. So this is your tax, your super, things to do with your health, things to do with wills and estate planning. So, having a medical decision maker document or a financial powers of attorney, all those sort of personal affairs things. That's your second category. The third category is comparison shopping, all those products and plans and policies that, in Australia, a lot of these industries are privatized. So you're looking at your energy, your electricity, your gas, you're looking at your internet, your phone, credit cards, insurances. All these things have like an annual expiry, and that's the trigger to shop around and look for a competitive plan or a plan that fits you best. So that's the third category, all that comparison shopping. Then the fourth category is the fun category. It's your social life. So it's organizing gifts and planning holidays and parties and preparing for things like Christmas and Easter and Diwali and Eid. But again, it's life admin. Someone has to think about it and plan it and book things and buy things. But that's it. That's the 4 categories of the life admin that's coming at you. It's the household, your personal affairs, your comparison shopping, and your social life. And so once people get their head around that, it helps them actually prioritize where they want to put attention and what to focus on. For some people, it'll be like, ugh, cost of living is high. I'm stressed out around money. I need to understand what's happening with my plans. I want to get the bills under control. So that's where I'm going to focus my time. That's where I'm going to get started with getting my life admin organized, is the comparison shopping. Other people might be like, oh, no, it's my household. I need the routine. I need structure. I need a rhythm to the week. I need to understand what's happening with kids' logistics. And that's where I'll put my focus and get the tools and the processes set up for that area first. And that's going to save you lots of time. Some people want the peace of mind, and that's where you focus on personal affairs. It's like, oh, I have 2 kids, we have a house, I don't have a will. Do you have a will, Sharon? The number of people that, oh, you're good. Most people do not have a will. And it's just one of those things that just lurks in the back of your mind, thinking, I need a will. I should have a will. It can sit there for years. So having that under control, having your, a way to prepare your tax each year without stressing you out, feeling confident about how your super is set up, all that kind of stuff gives you peace of mind. So depending on what's the pain point for you and where you think the challenge is, that's the category that we suggest that you start with in getting honed. So you mentioned bills. What we love for bills is automation. Like, if you can get direct debit set up for anything, just do it. Some people will balk at that, and I was one of those people. I was one of those people where I'm like, I don't trust them. I don't want to hand over, my credit card details. I have it just go through. What if it's an outrageous error? And then I realized in 20 years of paying bills, maybe once I've had to contest a credit card thing where I'm like, what's this? I don't know what this is. Most of the time they get it right, and it is so convenient. So if you can have it set up so that it's paid from a credit card or a debit card, and you can make sure that your buckets of money, your bank accounts are set up so that you can pay off your credit card in full, or there's going to be enough money to pay things by direct debit. We talk people through how to do that. Then set it up, because then you don't have to think about it. You're still going to get the email that tells you, here's your bill for the month or the quarter. You can file that. You don't have to take any further action. You're just glancing at it, making sure the numbers make sense and moving on. And then you're avoiding all the stress of having to plan to pay, forgetting to pay, worried about penalty fees, worried about the electricity being turned off. You can just set and forget.
Love that so much. Okay, I've got so many questions, and most of them are selfish questions. But I just wanted to know what family calendar I know that my clients, I get this question a lot. So people have, multiple family members. They all have different doctor's appointments, pediatrician appointments, psychology appointments, ADHD coach appointments, all those sorts of things. And, there's usually one person managing that. And the system can fall over because a lot of my beautiful clients are visual people, right? So they're like the physical calendar, but when you're out and about, you don't have your physical calendar. It's on the wall in the kitchen, or, I think things have the opportunity to fall over. I'm a bit of an electronic calendar person myself. I love the Gmail calendar. Everyone's got a color code. It works with my brain. But curious to know whether you have something that you recommend for that.
Yeah. We are massive advocates of digital calendars as well. And this, again, was a shift for us because I was very much a paper person. I like seeing it on the wall, but it didn't fit the information that you need to put in the calendar on any given day. There was just never enough space in the little box for that day. Even the calendars where you have, there's ones where each column is a family member and then there's the date down the side. Even often they just didn't have enough room to put in what you needed. And especially when you have recurring events, the beauty of a digital calendar is that you can put in all of these recurring events and then they just populate throughout the year. You can assign people, you can invite people to things. Obviously, you can access it on the go. And if you have a shared digital calendar, it means the whole family has access to it. And when your kids are of a certain age, they have access to it, so they can be adding events. And you have a single source of truth. I think that's what's so important for a family, is having that single source of truth. So there's a shared understanding of everyone's commitments and events for the week and for the time ahead. And sometimes, you mentioned this can be the responsibility of one person. Often it starts that way. But we have seen magical results when a shared calendar is set up and other people have talked through it, and suddenly everyone starts using it. And you can see other people adding events to it, and actually responding to the things that go into the events. So someone in our membership just this week saying, I used to have a calendar and I had this thing, and my 14-year-old son, he'd never look at it, and now we have this one set up, and we have conversations about things that he's noticed that are in there. And it's like, yeah, our kids are very digitally literate, so do get them involved in this. But you can still use color coding if you like to have the color representing, certain people or certain types of events. We have people who have had different, so you might look at you'll say Google Calendar. Google Calendar plays nicely with all sorts of other systems, so that's often what people end up using. You can have different layers of calendars. So we have someone who set up what they call their routine calendar, and it sort of sits behind all the events of the week, but it has things like, when's the grocery shopping happening? When does laundry happen? When is who's walking the dog on whatever days? So that's in one color. And then on top of it is her work commitments, because she works different shifts in the week and everyone has to see when she's working. And then another color, you have like medical appointments. Someone else has all their sports curricular stuff in another color. So if that works for you, there are definite ways of doing that. And you can do that by toggling on different calendars, or just simply picking the actual event and giving that its own specific color. But a digital calendar, and having that single source of truth that you can have on your phone, you can check if you're out and about. If someone says, can you do this appointment? You can look and go, yeah, I'm free there, without going, oh, I'll have to get back to you, or having to have the conciliation conversation at home, but getting, everyone gets out their diaries to do the reconciling. You can skip all that and go directly.
Love that so much. And yes, I think I've never thought about putting, who's walking the dog, and like having that next layer of what's happening underneath all of that. That's a really cool idea. Okay, I've got another question. I know that for a lot of our beautiful community, emails are a big problem. We get an incredible amount of emails. It's wild, and it can be really hard for people to manage. Do you have any tips around email? I did hear Elizabeth Gilbert just say, the lady who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, who I love, she just said every now and again she just highlights all and deletes. And I thought, oh, that's brave.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you have one of those inboxes with a little red badge that has four-figure, unread emails, it's getting into the thousands or the hundreds, and you're like, I just don't know what to do. You can just declare email bankruptcy and select them all and delete them all and start again. When you've got that many unread emails, there is no way you're going to get through them. And if it is freaking you out, literally highlight them all and delete them. If there's anything truly important in there, they will contact you again. But just to get past the scariness of a 70-page list, 70 pages of unread emails, just delete everything. So yeah, we call that declaring email bankruptcy. It's totally legit. The other thing we would suggest is an unsubscribe festival, where you just go through and unsubscribe from everything that has found its way into your inbox because you bought something once, or you signed up 3 years ago and you haven't got around to unsubscribing yet. The tendency is just to delete the ones we don't really care about. But if you take that extra 2 seconds, go and find that unsubscribe button, you're doing your future self a huge service. So do that. There are also some tools out there that will do email cleanup for you. There's one called Unroll Me, so people can Google that. And there's two. There's a paid one and a free one. That Unroll Me is free, and it goes through and it gets all the duplicates, it gets all the subscriptions, and it sort of helps you walk through saying, do you want this still? And it will just mass unsubscribe you from a whole bunch of stuff. The other one that you pay for, its name has escaped me. So Unroll Me, when you do that, it's actually collecting a bit of data about what you were subscribed to. It's not your personal PII data, but it is aggregating data. So some people are uncomfortable with that. And then so you can use a paid one. So if you just Google paid email cleanup, it's a similar thing. It'll mass unsubscribe you from a whole bunch of emails and help you get on top of it. But looking at email, we would put that in the 2 minutes too easy category. So and that is sort of a way of looking at a life admin task and thinking, how long do I need to spend on this? If something is really quick and you can do it just now, we call that a 2 minutes too easy. Just get it done. Take that Nike attitude. Don't park it to the side. Just do it now. So if an email comes in, well, first of all, don't sit down to look at your email until you have time to act on whatever's in there. It's nothing worse than opening up your email for a casual glance and then you're like, oh my God, there's all these things that I have to act on and I don't have time, and you just close it. Just open it when you have time to act on the stuff in there, and then move your way through. Take the 2 minutes too easy approach. If it's a form that needs filling out, fill it out, send it off. If it's something that you're deciding you're buying, buy it, delete, move on. And we do suggest that you just delete. Don't try and use it as a filing system and saving lots of emails in little folders. Don't try and use it as a to-do list. It's not made for task management. It's a communication tool. So if there's something in an email that comes in that it does trigger a task for later, then go and add that to your to-do list. You might put the info in the email in your to-do list item, but get it out of your email and don't use it as a task management system. That's probably the biggest trap people fall into, is that they have all these emails and there's like 20 that just sort of have sat there at the bottom of the page because they do require something to be done. They belong on to-do list rather than sitting and clocking in your inbox.
And you, so say if someone emails you and they say, like, you've got to do this really boring form, and the person with ADHD is like, oh my gosh, that boring form. So they're adding it to their to-do list. Do they reply back to the person that sent them the email and going like, I'm doing this, I've got your email, I'll do this on another day? Or do you think just putting it on your to-do list is enough? And, as long as you get to it, I guess they're getting their answer.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point. I think, for some people, I personally wouldn't bother emailing the person saying I'll do it whenever, unless they were like, can you have this to me by today? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll be able to do it by whatever date, if there was that date expectation. I wouldn't be responding to someone because it's just clogging up their email inbox. But for some people, that accountability of saying to someone, I will have this to you by tomorrow, might be useful because it's having that external accountability to help them follow through. If they don't have that, it might just sit on their to-do list for a month. But if they have responded to the person and promised a time when they would get back, if that's something that would be useful for you, if you know that you need that external accountability, then yeah, go ahead.
And so we know that ticking off a list has a dopamine reward. So I love a good tick or a crossing something off or deleting it if it's something to mark it's done. And we know that people with ADHD are notoriously terrible at marking their wins, right? So they achieve a goal and they move on really quickly. They don't celebrate and they don't go, yay, I did it. Like I did the thing. They just go, what's next? And it's one of the things that I love working on with my clients, celebrating what they're doing well, celebrating their wins and really marking those. For something like a to-do list, do you have any tips or apps or anything that you use that helps us mark those wins?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I, as digital as I am with everything, I have got myself this planner. It's called the Full Focus Planner, and it's created by Michael Hyatt, who wrote this book, Free to Focus. He's a productivity guy. And this planner is beautiful because for each day, you list your daily big 3 tasks that you're going to work on. So I use this for work. And you can list all your other tasks. It's got beautiful little check boxes there so you can tick things off. He actually uses like little symbols to deal with the task. So obviously the checkbox, you can tick it if it's done. And then he has got like a little downward arrow if you're going to delegate it to someone else, and the little sideways arrow if you're going to defer it to later. So he's got these little symbols you put in your checkboxes beyond the tick where I'm like, this is next level. But what's beautiful about this is that he also has space for a daily win. And at the end of each week in this planner, you also asked to reflect on what were your big wins for the week. So I think that's really important because what is celebrated gets repeated. So whenever you are doing something where you have tick something off a to-do list, you can take a little moment, let it sink in what the outcome that you've just achieved or what you just learned doing it. because you, as you said, you're going to get the dopamine hit, but you're also building a little muscle. You're building that muscle of taking action. And when you celebrate, it helps cement how good it was to take action. And it reinforces your ideas of self-sufficiency and self-efficacy, that you can do this stuff. You were doing great. You got this. So, yeah, I love a daily win. I love reflecting, and I love that it's there in the notebook. It reminds me at the end when I'm doing my little workday shutdown ritual. So that's another thing we talk about, these rituals. When you're closing out your day, whether it's been at work or you're at home, having a way to sort of shut things down and having an acknowledgement of your win as being part of that. So you can not forget the good stuff that happened, the achievements that you made. Because every day usually has something. It might be little, but it's worth finding and focusing on.
I love that so much. Now, you have shared so much gold with us in this podcast. Tell us a little bit about how our beautiful community can find you.
Sure, they can come along to lifeadminlifehacks.com and actually sign up for one of our co-working sessions. You can head to the resources section there or find it on the homepage. Come and do an hour of power of life admin with other people and feel the amazing productivity boost that it gives you. We also have the podcast Life Admin Life Hacks. So if you're a podcast person, come and listen. We have nearly 100 episodes. We're about to celebrate our 100th episode. So we have covered literally every aspect of life admin you could possibly imagine. We covered digital photos, we talked about bills, we talked about everything that we've mentioned today. So if you have a particular challenge or pain point, you can find an app that's going to address that for you. And of course, we're on all the socials as well. So Life Admin Life Hacks.
Thank you. And I'm going to put all of that into the show notes for our beautiful community so they can go and check you out. And, you know, I have been a long time fan of your podcast. It is incredible. And you know what, the one thing that is really great about it is it gets you inspired to do the task. You know, we know that we have to do these tasks, and sometimes just hearing someone talk about it, or perhaps like a different way, like learning about how different people do things, it just gets you inspired to start. And we know with ADHD, there's that ignition piece, ignition and momentum. So often it can be that little spark of ignition that we need to get the task done.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure to be here, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the ADHD Families Podcast. If you loved it, please share it on your socials. I want this to start a conversation about ADHD. If you want to make this mum do a little happy dance, please leave a review on iTunes. If you would like to know more about what we do, check out thefunctionalfamily.com. I truly hope that you enjoyed this podcast and you use it to create a wonderful, effective, joyful life with your beautiful children.